Welcome to my channel.
And this is English Podcast Station.
All right, diving in. Today, it's all about something super practical.
Ooh, I like practical. Hit me.
Especially if you're, living in or visiting an English-speaking country.
Oh?
We're going to tackle the supermarket checkout.
Ooh, love it.
It's like how to handle it like a pro.
Yes.
We're breaking down an episode, a really useful one, I think, from English Podcast Station.
Okay.
Our guides are James and Erica.
All right.
They have this great focus on clear, simple English for everyday situations.
I mean, that's what we need, right? Especially at the checkout.
Right. You're in line. You don't want to overthink it.
It can be so stressful, even those simple interactions. When you're still learning the language, it's the pressure's on.
Totally. And it's funny, that's exactly the scenario James and Erica use in their episode.
Oh, really?
The express checkout lane.
Smart.
Super smart. Because that's where we need those phrases down, Pat.
Yeah, you got to be quick.
You got to be on it.
No time to hesitate.
Exactly. And it's not just the language itself.
Oh, right. Right. It's the whole, the unspoken etiquette.
Yeah, those cultural norms, they can be different everywhere.
Totally different.
Is it okay to chat with the cashier?
Oh, yeah.
Or should you just focus on the transaction?
Right.
And what do you do if you don't understand something?
Yeah, that's a big one.
But first things first, James and Erica, they start by reminding us.
Yeah.
Check the item limit.
Oh, good point. In those express lanes.
Yes. For the express lane.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to get up there with a full cart and
Right. Be that person.
redirected to the back of the
Totally.
regular line.
Such a simple detail, but it can save you a lot of embarrassment.
Yeah, for sure. I like how they weave in those practical tips with the language.
Yeah, totally.
It's all connected.
Okay, let's get into the actual dialogue. It starts with the classic.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, how are you today?
Oh, I know it seems basic, but
I know. Stick with me.
it's important.
It's so important because it sets the tone.
Yeah, it's like a dance almost.
It's like a little dance of politeness.
A little acknowledgement.
You're acknowledging,
Yeah.
creating a connection, even if it's brief.
Exactly.
I like to think of it as like a verbal handshake.
Ooh, I love
I see you. I'm ready to, have a friendly exchange.
a verbal handshake. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So how do you usually respond? When you're at the store, someone says, "How are you?"
I tend to keep it simple, positive.
Okay.
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Or, not bad, thanks.
Perfect. And it's interesting how they mirror the structure of the question.
Oh, yeah.
You're showing you're listening and responding appropriately.
Right. You don't have to go into a whole story about your day.
You don't have to launch into your whole life story.
Exactly. It's just keeping that flow, that back and forth, makes it feel natural.
It's that rhythm.
Yeah, the rhythm.
So we've got greetings down. What's next in this checkout tango?
All right, so once the cashier scans your items, they might ask, do you have a club card with us?
Ooh, the club card.
Now things are getting interesting.
It's like the secret weapon, right?
Yeah.
For saving money at the supermarket.
It is.
But I've noticed that not everyone understands the concept of loyalty programs.
Oh, that's true. Especially if they're new to English-speaking countries, those programs.
Yeah, it's not a universal thing.
Right. It's basically rewarding repeat customers. You get discounts, special offers.
Right.
And for the supermarkets, they're collecting data on what you're buying.
Yeah.
So they can send you very personalized coupons and deals.
It's amazing what those little cards reveal about our shopping habits.
I know.
But practically speaking, they can add up to some big savings.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to a particular supermarket regularly, it's worth it to sign up.
Absolutely.
But even if you don't have a club card, don't worry.
You're good.
Just say, no, I don't, or no, thank you.
Easy peasy. And the checkout process, it just keeps on moving.
Smoothly. Okay, so we've handled the greetings, the club card query. What's next?
The moment of truth.
Dun, 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 dun.
Payment.
Oh, yes.
The cashier will ask, how would you like to pay?
Okay.
Now, in the US, we've got several common options. You've got your credit card,
Right.
your debit card, or good old-fashioned cash.
It's funny how payment technologies, they just keep evolving.
It's wild.
I remember when everyone used to write checks.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's all contactless payments, digital wallets.
It's incredible how fast things change, but for this lesson, let's stick to the basics.
Good point.
What you'll actually need at the checkout.
Right. So if you want to use your credit card, you just say, I'll pay with my credit card.
Straightforward.
For debit, it's, I'll use my debit card.
Easy.
Simple. And if you're a cash person, I'll pay with cash.
Yeah.
Just be clear and confident so the cashier understands.
Makes sense. And here's where it gets cool.
Okay.
If you're paying with a debit card, you can ask for cash back.
Oh, yeah. This is something that always confused me when I was first learning English.
It's definitely a unique feature. You don't see it everywhere.
No.
Basically, you withdraw cash from your bank account while you're making the purchase.
It's like a mini ATM right there at the checkout.
Exactly.
In the dialogue, James, he asks for $20 cash back.
Okay.
So he's basically getting $20 on top of this purchase.
Right. So his card will be charged the total plus that $20.
Exactly.
It's super convenient. You don't have to make another stop.
Yeah, you don't have to go find an ATM.
Exactly.
I remember feeling so accomplished the first time I successfully used the cashback option.
It's the little things, right?
It's the little victories.
It feels like a big step.
Yeah, totally. All right, so we've covered the basics, greetings, club cards, payment options, even the cashback trick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling more confident about my next trip to the supermarket already.
That's great to hear. But before we move on, I want to highlight something interesting about how James and Erica structure their dialogue.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What did you notice?
Well, they kind of sprinkle in like these little cultural insights as they're going through the conversation.
Oh, interesting.
For instance, Erica, she mentions that, it's not customary to tip the cashier or bagger
Oh, the tipping thing?
in English-speaking countries.
Yeah, it's such a big one.
I know, right? It can be really confusing.
Especially for people who are new to like the US or other, English-speaking countries.
Yeah, it's like one of those unwritten rules
Totally.
that can really trip people up.
Yeah,
Because in some cultures, tipping is expected
right. It's almost everywhere.
in almost every service industry, but in the US, it's mainly limited to restaurants, bars,
Yeah.
a few specific situations.
So at the supermarket,
Yeah,
a simple thank you is all you need.
that's it.
No need to fumble for extra cash.
No, just a genuine thank you.
Exactly.
And speaking of cultural differences, they also touch upon the prevalence of self-checkout machines.
Oh, those self-checkouts.
Love them or hate them,
They're everywhere.
they've become a fixture in many supermarkets.
I know, but I've noticed they're not as common in every country.
That's true.
It's interesting how the technology adoption varies.
Yeah, from place to place.
Yeah.
In some countries, those self-checkouts, they're seen as super convenient, speeding up the process.
Right.
But in other places, people are a little more skeptical.
Yeah, I've heard the arguments that they contribute to job losses
Yeah,
and that they can be frustrating,
for sure.
especially for older customers or people with disabilities.
It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
It has economic and social implications.
Totally.
But from a purely language learning perspective,
Right.
it's interesting to note that the phrases you'll use at a self-checkout,
Okay.
they're slightly different than what you'd use with a cashier.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, you have to navigate those touch screens,
Mm-hmm.
select your payment method, maybe even troubleshoot some issues that come up.
Yeah.
It's almost like learning a whole new set of vocabulary and commands.
It's like its own little world.
Yeah, exactly.
So even though we're focusing on the more traditional checkout interaction here,
Yeah.
it's a good reminder that technology is constantly changing how we communicate.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But regardless of whether you're dealing with a human cashier or a machine, there's always that possibility of miscommunication.
Right. And that's something that can be really anxiety provoking
Oh, for sure.
for language learners. What happens if you don't understand what the cashier is saying?
Right. So James and Erica, they offer some really great advice for those situations.
Oh, good. I'm all ears.
Okay. So first and foremost,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask for clarification.
Okay.
A simple, could you please repeat that? Or, I didn't quite understand. Could you speak a little slower?
I love how those phrases are both polite,
Yes.
also assertive. You're not demanding,
Right.
but you're clearly communicating that you need a little help.
Exactly. You're advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of nonverbal communication.
Oh, pointing to something.
Exactly.
Or using your hands to show quantities.
Yes, sometimes a smile or a nod can really go a long way.
It's like we're tapping into our inner mime.
A little bit.
But seriously, it's reassuring to know that even if our words fail us,
Yeah.
there are other ways to get our meaning across.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Communication is a multifaceted process.
it really is.
It's not just about the words.
You know, going through these tips,
Yeah.
I'm realizing that some of them apply not just to language learners,
Oh, interesting.
but to anyone who might be struggling to communicate,
Oh, that's a good point.
even native English speakers.
Yeah.
Like, we've all had those days
When
where
us
we're just
too.
like, oh,
Right. Brain fog.
brain fog, or the environment's noisy.
Right.
And it's hard to hear.
For sure.
So these strategies, they can be helpful in all sorts of situations.
I think so.
It's about being aware of that potential for miscommunication and having the tools to like navigate those challenges gracefully.
Yeah, exactly.
So even though this deep dive is focusing on English language learning,
Yeah,
it's really about communication skills in general,
I agree.
which is something we can all benefit from
Absolutely.
improving.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up this segment,
Okay.
I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier
Okay.
about how we all kind of develop these little scripts in our heads
Oh, yeah.
for these everyday interactions.
Yeah, like my mental rehearsal before I approach the checkout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It's like we're trying to anticipate every possible scenario
Yeah,
and have the perfect response ready.
right. But I have to admit,
Uh-huh.
sometimes I get so caught up in my script
Okay.
that I miss the cues from the other person. It's like I'm so focused on delivering my lines
Yeah.
that I forget to actually listen
Right.
and respond authentically.
I've been there.
It happens.
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of staying present in the moment.
Being adaptable,
Yes.
right? Because even with all the preparation in the world,
Yeah.
you can't predict every twist and turn
You can't.
in a conversation.
No.
So how do we strike that balance
That's the question.
between like the preparation and the spontaneity?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I think it comes with practice
Yeah.
and experience.
For sure.
The more we expose ourselves to those real life interactions,
Yeah.
the more comfortable we become with improvising
Right.
and going off script.
It's like learning to dance.
Ooh.
You might start with some basic steps, but
Right.
eventually you learn to flow with the music and your partner.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to memorize every phrase
Yeah.
or scenario,
Yeah.
maybe it's more about developing that fluency
Yes.
and confidence that
Yeah.
lets us navigate anything
Yeah,
with
okay.
grace.
And remember, even native speakers make mistakes.
Oh, totally.
We stumble over our words.
Yeah.
We have to ask for clarification.
All the time.
It's part of it.
It's human.
It is. It's the beauty of human communication.
So true.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about greetings, club cards, payment options, cultural nuances, handling misunderstandings.
We've covered a lot.
What else do James and Erica cover in their episode?
Well, they wrap things up by challenging their listeners
Okay.
to become teachers for a moment.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, turning the tables.
Oh, like it.
Putting us in the teacher's seat. So they ask their listeners to imagine
Yeah.
they're creating a short English lesson for beginners.
Good.
And the question is, what everyday scenario would you choose?
But-
And why?
Oh, that's fun.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, it makes you think about like what situations where clear communication is like the most crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really encourages you to break down those interactions into smaller pieces.
Okay.
You know, thinking about the key vocabulary and phrases
Right.
that you would need.
It's like you're reverse engineering a conversation.
Yeah, I love that. Reverse engineering a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to really solidify your own understanding. Sometimes the best way to learn something is to teach it
So true.
to someone else.
Okay, so let's play along.
All right.
If I were creating a mini English lesson,
Yeah.
I think I would focus on
Okay.
ordering coffee at a cafe.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
It's a situation almost everyone encounters
Yeah.
at some point.
You got to get that caffeine.
You do.
There's so many nuances.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So many.
Like latte, cappuccino, Americano,
all the choices.
whole milk, skim milk, oat milk,
Right.
sugar, sweetener, no sugar.
It gets complicated.
It can get complicated. It's a microcosm of language and culture.
Yes.
All in one little transaction.
I can already picture the flashcards.
Oh, yeah.
Like tall, grande, venti,
Here you go.
extra shot, whipped cream, to go.
And then you've got those cultural nuances too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you tip the barista?
Right.
What happens if your order is wrong?
What do you do?
Yeah,
It's amazing how much learning
I know.
can be packed into a seemingly simple interaction.
Right. It reminds us that language is about so much more than just words and grammar.
Yes.
It's about understanding the social context,
Yeah.
the unspoken rules,
Right.
the cultural norms that shape everything.
It's like the whole picture.
It is. It's the whole picture.
I'm so glad we took this deep dive into the supermarket checkout.
Me too.
It's made me realize how much I take for granted when
Yeah.
it comes to like navigating these everyday situations.
It's easy to forget how challenging it can be
Totally.
when you're still learning the ropes.
Yeah. So to our listener out there who's on this English learning journey,
Yes.
I hope this deep dive has been helpful
I hope so.
and encouraging.
Encouraging for sure.
Remember, every interaction, every aha moment,
Yes.
every fumble,
Yeah.
every triumph
It all counts.
brings you closer to fluency
Absolutely.
and confidence.
You got this.
So embrace the process,
Yes.
celebrate the progress,
Celebrate every step.
and never stop exploring.
That's right.
The world is waiting
It is.
to be discovered.
One conversation at a time.
One conversation at a time.
That's it.
And hey, if you find yourself feeling tongue-tied at the checkout,
Oh, yeah.
just remember those simple phrases.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath
You got this.
and go for it.
You got this.
You got that.
Until next time, happy learning.